If you're listening to this and you feel alone, you feel like you don't have anyone to support you or encourage you or believe in you, guess what? That's okay. The best part is knowing that you can succeed anyways. There is going to come a time, no matter where you are in your current journey, that you are going to feel lost. You're going to feel like an imposter, that you're not worthy enough, capable enough, connected enough, educated enough, or smart enough. There isn't any one key to success. But there is one surefire way to failure, and that is listening to the opinions of others and doubting the belief you have in yourself. Love responsibility. This is a good one. Responsibility is literally blaming no one but yourself. It's taking responsibility for your success and your failures. There is massive power in knowing that your success or failure has everything to do with you. When bad things happen in your life, you have the power. If you're able to take the responsibility, wouldn't you rather go after it and do something big or have this crazy vision and miss the mark? Learn from that lesson so that you can make better decisions in the future. Every single day that you have life is one more chance that you get to go after it all. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the show. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today as we cover an important topic that I think applies to all investors, all business owners, all entrepreneurs, anyone that wants to achieve any level of success in their life. This is actually going to be a two-part series. I don't know if a series can be only two parts, but this is going to be two parts because it's so long. So we're going to chop it up into two different sections. And this was actually a book that I was going to write. And who knows, maybe once I get this second book out into the world and the third book happens, maybe this will eventually be a book, but I feel like it's too good to just sit in a notebook on my shelf. So when I came across this outline, I decided let's turn this into some solo episodes so that we can still share the information because I feel like it's going to provide a lot of value for anyone listening. You know, being in business for over 25 years, starting a nonprofit and being in the nonprofit world for more than 15 years, and not to mention all of the different business groups, like actual business groups that I've belonged into, WPO, EO, all the things like that. You would have to be blind not to see that there are some serious overlaps, some skill sets, some beliefs, some habits that people have adopted in order to get to a certain level of success. And I found that when I was really researching what are the core principles that can create the habits that compound into success in any area, I found that there are 12 core mindsets, core things, core similarities that everyone has in common, whether they're a multimillionaire, a billionaire, a founder of a massive company, or in a really successful stage or phase in their life. So regardless if you're trying to break through your first 7 figures or you're now doing 8 or you're brick and mortar trying to add locations or a different revenue stream to your business, this is going to apply to you because it will require you to adopt a whole other set of beliefs. It's going to require you to have greater belief in yourself. So we are going to uncover the 12 mindsets to win at life and business. And the very first may not come at any surprise, but it's actually belief. Having belief in yourself, in your ability, in your dream is truly one of the hardest things that most people have to achieve in the beginning. It's believing that you're worthy, believing that you're capable, believing that what you're going to do and set out to do is attainable. Because there is going to come a time, no matter where you are in your current journey or the next one, that you are going to feel lost. You're going to feel like an imposter. You're going to feel like you have no idea what you're doing, that you're not worthy enough, capable enough, connected enough, educated enough, or smart enough to do this thing that you're looking to achieve. And it's easy for me to rattle off all of those things because I have felt them on numerous occasions throughout the last half of my life. But even in those moments where you have fears or insecurities or doubts, coming back to this place of having core belief in your gut, in your heart, that you will figure it out is necessary for you to succeed at anything. That's why the very first mindset will compound over all of the other 12 or 11, I should say, that we're going to cover in this series, because there isn't any one key to success, but there is one surefire way to failure. And that is listening to the opinions of others and doubting the belief you have in yourself. So the very first is belief. The second to win at life and business is persistence, having relentless persistence to pursue your goal. This is the one that separates the men from the boys, the queens from the princesses. It's having relentless persistence that even when it's hard, even when you're confused, even when you don't know the next steps, you are going to keep moving forward. People will question your ability. They'll question your integrity. They'll question your intentions. And if you haven't experienced this one yet, you will. The bigger your dream, the more that you do, the bigger that next goal is, that next level, you are going to be met with some resistance, my friend. It's called the success tax. There is an unsaid tax that we all have to pay when we go out to achieve big things, when we have next level thinking, when you go against the status quo or societal norms or what everyone else is doing in your circle, your family, or your community. And here's the thing. It's not that these people are necessarily evil or nasty, although their behavior can certainly seem like that. It's just that when you go out and want to achieve something more or different for your life, it will trigger other people. It will trigger jealousy. It will show up as judgment. It triggers lack. It reflects back something that they wish they had. Because what they don't realize is that that success and that freedom, those big things are here for them too. They too can go out and do the work. They can make the tough choices. They can take the risks. But it is far easier to doubt, hate, and gossip about somebody else doing it than it is to go out and do it for yourself. It's easier to watch mindless Netflix and be mad at somebody for having the life that you wish you had rather than going to do the work and taking the action to get there. So when you're met with outside resistance, even if it's the people closest to you or people that you've never met and they toss their triggers your way, remember that you have to have relentless persistence to go after it anyways. That calling on your life, that dream that's in your soul, having relentless persistence to go after it in spite of the challenge, that's what's going to get you to the next level. And like I always say, have empathy for those people. Have empathy for those people that are judging you and gossiping about you and hating on you because their lives have to be so miserable that they're focused on you instead of going after that which is really on their heart. So one of these core fundamental principles of these 12 mindsets to really win is always having relentless persistence. Care more about your own dreams and your own goals than the opinions of other people. Number 3, optimism. Now, optimism is not necessarily positive thinking. I believe it's Tony Robbins that first said, you can't go into the garden and chant, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, and stand with weeds all around your feet. We got to see them. We got to pull it out, but we have to be optimistic in the result. Identifying a challenge or an adversity with optimism is just being positive about the situation you're in, that you're going to solve it. It's not being delusional. It's not like, oh, there are no weeds. It's being optimistic that although there are weeds in the garden right now, if we take the action and do the work, we are optimistic that we will make this a big, beautiful garden after we're done. Being incessantly optimistic just means that you are hedging on the side of hoping for the best. But if that doesn't happen at the first attempt, you aren't going to fall apart because you're going to go back to number 2 and have relentless persistence. You're not going to fall into a puddle of nothingness. You're just going to adjust and make changes and ask better questions like, why aren't we solving this problem? Is it the soil? Is it the seeds? Is there not enough sunshine? Is there too much sunshine? In Arizona, you can have the best plant from the best nursery, but you could put it in full sun as opposed to partial sun, and it'll die. So being optimistic is not being delusional that if I put this plant in full sun and I think great things, it's still going to survive. No, it just means that you're understanding that what you think becomes what you feel, and those feelings become your actions, and those actions become your habits, and those habits create your reality. It's like going into a huge project that seems impossible to pull off. And honestly speaking, it's actually one of my favorite types of projects is when 240 people are saying all the reasons why it's not going to work. I can choose to believe them, or I can choose that it's going to work out. I can choose to be persistent to get there. And I can choose that if all of these challenges trip me up, I can still Be optimistic in the result and take the actions forward as if it's going to happen. Because I can tell you there's been so many times in my life that so many people said this, that, or the other thing wasn't going to work out, or there was no way I was going to hit that timeline, or there was no way we were going to be able to achieve that. And more often than not, I might not have hit the exact goal that I set, but I also was able to condense time. If someone tells you, oh, it's going to take 2 years, 10 years, 20 years to get there, and you try to do it in a shorter timeline, and you ask yourself better questions to get there, you have the ability to condense time. If you say it's going to take 2 years and you make a plan for it to take 2 years, it's going to take 2 years. But if you say, what would I need to do to accomplish this in 30 days? What steps would I need to take? Who would I need to hire? What would I need to achieve in order to do this in 90 days? Even if you miss your mark by a whole quarter, you still condense time, because rather than taking 2 years to do a project, you set out a goal to do it in 90 days. You failed by 90 days, but you actually succeeded at accomplishing something in 6 months as opposed to 2 years. This is how I have done massive renovation projects while running businesses, while running investment projects. Going into every situation, hoping for the best, but being prepared for an alternate plan just in case it doesn't happen. That is what's being optimistic. The fourth is learning to love responsibility. This is a good one. This reminds me of how bosses think it's all about them. But leaders know it's all about everybody else. Responsibility is literally blaming no one but yourself. It's taking responsibility for your success and your failures. Taking responsibility when you miss the mark, when you hire the wrong person, which we all do, when you make a poor decision for a marketing strategy, something that happens in your organization, someone steals from you, whatever the challenge is, it's all the unsexy part of business. And it's also a huge weight at times. But if you're able to take the responsibility when bad things happen in your life, you have the power to control your destiny. Because look, you can't take responsibility for all the good things and all the success that happen without taking responsibility for the bad. It's both. But here's the thing. There is massive power in knowing that your success or failure has everything to do with you. And it's really exciting. I think that's the entrepreneurial journey. Wouldn't you rather go after it and do something big or have this crazy vision and miss the mark, yet know that, you know what, I just made a bad decision here, and you learn from that lesson so that you can make better decisions in the future. It's like hanging on to an employee that you knew wasn't the right fit, trusting the wrong person, not researching the market well enough. All of those things fall back to us as leaders, and they're no one else's fault. You can blame the market, you can blame other people, but really when you take responsibility, you're creating power in your decisions. Being comfortable with responsibility is essential. And the bigger dreams that you have for your life, the bigger your business or your team, the more you're going to need this mindset, which brings us to number 5. Number 5 is being your own cheerleader. This one is understanding that you may be your very own cheerleader. This actually trips people up a lot because they think if they're going to start a business or have a goal or work on some cause, they will find out that very few people, sometimes nobody at all, actually will support you. And that's not their fault. Most people are conditioned to seek sameness and stability, like keeping us sane so that we won't trigger anybody. It goes back to what we were saying before. It's all this ancient old conditioning. But once you understand that you're the one that needs to protect your dream, you're the one that champions your cause, you're the one that rallies around your goal, that's no one else's job. Once you realize that, the very cool part is that you don't need anyone else. Like you really don't, which is probably shocking to hear in a world that speaks about community and tribe and that you need all these other people. But what it does is it actually makes other people feel lack that don't have a supportive family and don't have supportive friends. If you have that, that is a bonus. But the reality is you don't need it. Will it make it easier? Sure. But then what it does is it creates this dependency on validation for others. Meaning if now these people support me and I want to do something drastically different with my life and they don't support that, maybe that's something I'm not supposed to be doing. As opposed to knowing who you are, who you're not, and being okay with both. If you're listening to this and you feel alone, you feel like you don't have anyone to support you or encourage you or believe in you, guess what? That's okay. The best part is knowing that you can succeed anyways. There were so many times in my own personal life that the people closest to me, the people that were around me, were the very same people that didn't want me to do the next thing that I was doing. They didn't want me to start investing in more properties. They didn't want me to do more flips. They didn't want me to start another location or another business. And why? Because they were living from their own experiences. And maybe they went out and did something once that caused them pain, or they failed and they're trying to protect you from that. But here's what you need to know. No matter how many times you hear the opinions of others, if you have something that you want to create or do, these are the times that you champion your own dreams. You cheerlead yourself. And I promise you, if you're the only one in the room standing up, cheering and applauding for your progression in life, you will still be immensely grateful. I know I am. I am so grateful for all of those times. And I know that wherever you are in your life, you have moments that you can look back on and acknowledge that some of the times that you didn't do what you thought you wanted to do and you listened to somebody else, that's what actually causes regret. Have the responsibility for your own success. Be okay with failure, because at least if you fail at the end, you know that you tried, you gave it your all, and you are one step closer to whatever it is that you want to accomplish. But no matter what, remember that you're the one that's championing those dreams. You're the one that's responsible for bringing them forward. No one else. That's what's going to set you up for success. And that leads us to number 6. The 6th thing to win at life and business, this game that we all play, is to be okay with sitting in the challenge. Look, if you want to get to another level, you want to break through, you want to break generational curses, you want to be the first multimillionaire in your family, the first business owner, whatever it is for you, the only way to prohibit challenges in your life is to stay the same. Keep your circle small. Don't change. Don't deviate. And by all means, don't become the person that you were created to be. Stay in the same job, the same level of business, the same team, the same everything. Don't grow, don't reach, don't expand. The only way that you are going to get through to this next level is to be okay in the uncomfort. Be okay in the challenge. If you've had any level of success to this point, you will know that you have dealt with some hard things to get here, and you're going to have to deal with harder things next, because the bigger the mountain that you want to climb, the bigger the challenges and the adversities that you're going to have to face, because it's not about achieving the top of that mountain. It's about who you become in the process that makes the next mountain that much easier to attain. If you are going after your dreams, if you're going after goals, you have got to be okay in the uncomfort and be okay to sit in the challenge. You know, I heard this story once. Rory Vaden talked about this on one of my stages for one of the events that I hosted, and he talked about the buffalo and cow. There is a distinct difference between buffaloes and cows as they relate to how they process a storm. And although I don't have much experience with buffaloes, I do with cows at the animal sanctuary. And I can tell you that this is very conducive to how a cow will operate. When a cow sees a storm, they know they're coming. Animals are incredibly intelligent and instinctual. They are always trying to get away from the storm. The cow is trying to move to shelter, move away from the storm so that the storm doesn't catch them. But what happens is by them trying to move away from the storm, stay with me, the storm will come up to them, and then they can't outrun the storm. Eventually, the storm is on them for so long, they have to deal with more pain, more suffering of the water hitting their backs, not having enough shelter. Where the buffalo, on the other hand, they deal with storms a different way. They know that the storms are coming, but they also know that they are going to be better if they just stay and wait it out. They sit in what's uncomfortable. They sit in the challenge, and they know that the fastest way through the storm is to get across it, to go through it and get on the other side. So they wait and they wait and they wait. They sit in the dark. They sit in the thunder. They sit in all of the loud noise until the storm starts hitting them. And then they start charging through it, because they know as the storm is coming their way, the shortest path through it is to sustain it. So as opposed to continually running away from the challenges that we think are keeping us from this next level of life, hitting that challenge straight on, stepping into the fear, into the uncomfortable, into the unknown, and into the challenge is the fastest way for you to get through it. And on the other side is where greatness lies, my friends. On the other side of your greatest challenge, you were meant to do something great with your life. And unfortunately, it isn't a crime in this country or in the world to not live up to your potential. But every single day that you have life, that you have air in your lungs, is one more chance that you get to go after it all. And I hope you do. All right, guys, that's the first 6 of how to win at life and business. We'll have the next one in our next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. I'll see you next time.